Hey everyone, your support has been absolutely incredible lately, and we're getting closer to our goal of 10k subscribers. I think we can hit 200 likes on this video. Every like and comment helps our content reach more amazing people. Speaking of comments, I'd love to hear your thoughts on these mysterious drone sightings happening across the US right now. What's your theory on what's going on? Drop your ideas in the comments below. I read every single one. Now, let's dive into today's video. Dr. Andrea Reynolds peers through the window of her small office at the National Atmospheric Research Center, watching the December snow swirl against the darkening sky. The clock on her desk reads 5:47 p.m. But something keeps her from packing up for the day. The same something that's been nagging at her for weeks now. She turns back to her computer screen, where dozens of weather station readouts flash with anomalous data. The patterns make no sense, electromagnetic disturbances that appear and disappear without explanation, radiation spikes that shouldn't be possible, and temperature inversions that defy known atmospheric science. This can't be equipment malfunction, she mutters, reaching for her lukewarm coffee. Not across 37 different stations. Her phone buzzes, another notification from the centre's public reporting system. She's been getting dozens daily now, all describing the same thing. Strange lights in the pre-dawn hours, moving in ways that aircraft shouldn't be able to move. The latest report makes her sit up straight. Orbs of light, approximately 6 in number, performing geometric patterns over Lake Michigan. When I tried to film them, they appeared to transform into conventional aircraft on my phone screen. But with my naked eye, they remained as orbs. Temperature dropped approximately 15 degrees during observation. A shiver runs down her spine as she adds this report to her growing database. It's the 17th report this week describing the same phenomenon, objects appearing differently on camera than to the naked eye. Her office phone rings, startling her. The caller ID shows a number she doesn't recognize. Dr. Reynolds speaking, she answers. Is this line secure? The male voice on the other end is quiet, tense. Excuse me? Dr. Reynolds, my name is Thomas Blackwood. I worked as a technical advisor for the Air Force for 27 years. We need to talk about what you've been seeing in your atmospheric readings. Andrea's hand tightens on the phone. How do you know about my readings? Because we predicted them, back in 1987, during Project Luminescence. We knew this was coming. Listen carefully. They're monitoring your communications. Use a burner phone and call this number at exactly 6:45 p.m. tomorrow. Don't tell anyone about this conversation. The line goes dead. Andrea stares at the phone, her heart pounding. As she sets it down, her computer screen flickers, just for a moment, and she notices something odd. Every weather station west of the Mississippi River has gone dark. She quickly saves her data to an external drive, something telling her she needs to preserve this information. As she does, a low hum begins to fill the air, barely perceptible at first, but growing steadily stronger. The lights in her office flicker and her computer screen fills with static. Through her window, the snow has stopped falling. In fact, it's suspended in mid-air, countless snowflakes frozen in place like stars in the darkening sky. And above them, just visible through the clouds, 3 points of light move in a perfect equilateral triangle. Her phone buzzes again. This time, an official email from the National Weather Service. Immediate effect. All atmospheric monitoring stations are to cease unauthorized data collection. Standard operating procedures are being revised. Do not discuss anomalous readings with unauthorized personnel. This is a matter of national security. Andrea quickly pockets the external drive and begins shutting down her computer. But before she can finish, every electronic device in her office goes dark simultaneously. In the sudden silence, she hears footsteps in the hallway, heavy measured steps moving towards her door. She grabs her coat and keys, turns off her office light, and slips out the back door just as the footsteps reach her office. In the parking lot, she notices 3 black SUVs with tinted windows and no license plates. As she drives home through the unnaturally still night, she can't shake the feeling that everything she thought she knew about reality is about to change. The next few days would prove just how right she was. Andrea's hands shake as she unlocks the door to her small, suburban home. The events at her office replay in her mind as she immediately heads to her basement, where she set up a makeshift research station over the past few weeks. Her personal weather monitoring equipment, purchased discreetly through various online vendors, shows the same bizarre readings she'd seen at work. But now there's something new, a rhythmic pattern in the electromagnetic disturbances, almost like a code. She pulls out the external drive and begins analysing the data on her personal laptop, which she keeps disconnected from any networks. The pattern becomes clearer as she plots the data points. The lights aren't random. They're appearing in specific geometric configurations, each formation lasting exactly 3 minutes and 33 seconds before shifting. Her phone rings, a different number than before. Against her better judgment, she answers. "Dr. Reynolds." The voice is different from earlier, feminine and urgent. "Pull up the Kepler observatory data from 1987. Cross-reference it with today's patterns." "Who is this? How did you get this number?" "There's no time. They're accelerating the timeline. Check Kepler's data." The line goes dead. Andrea's fingers fly across her keyboard as she accesses the public astronomical database. Her blood runs cold as she finds what she's looking for. Identical geometric patterns of unexplained astronomical phenomena documented in 1987, labelled as classified shortly after observation. A notification pops up on her phone. Another video uploaded to the civilian reporting database she's been monitoring. The footage shows 5 balls of light moving in perfect synchronization over downtown Chicago. As the camera zooms in, the orbs shimmer and transform into what appear to be commercial aircraft, complete with blinking navigation lights. But in the reflection of Lake Michigan below, their true forms remain visible. Pulsing spheres of blue-white light. The video ends abruptly as a new email arrives from someone claiming to be former Air Force Technical Sergeant James Morrison. "Dr. Reynolds, what you're seeing was predicted. Project Luminescence wasn't just about lights in the sky. It was about mass perception manipulation. The technology exists to make millions see what they want us to see. I'm attaching documents from 1987. Be careful who you trust. They're watching." The attached files revealed detailed technical specifications for something called Project Looking Glass, advanced holographic technology far beyond what should have been possible in 1987, or even now. A loud thud from upstairs makes her jump. She quickly saves the files to an encrypted drive and listens intently. Another thud, followed by the distinct sound of footsteps. She hasn't told anyone her home address. The basement has no windows, only a small storm door leading to the backyard. As the footsteps descend the stairs to the basement, she grabs her laptop and the drives, slipping out through the storm door into the cold night air. Above her, the sky has taken on a strange purple hue. The stars seem to pulse in time with the electromagnetic readings on her equipment. And in the distance, a low hum begins to build. The same frequency she heard at her office. Her phone vibrates with an incoming text from an unknown number. "Meet us at the Old Murray Observatory. 11 p.m. Bring the Kepler data. Trust no one who doesn't know about Project Looking Glass." She glances back at her house, where flashlight beams now dance through the basement windows. The hum grows louder as she hurries to her car, and for a moment the entire sky seems to ripple like the surface of a pond. This is just the beginning, she realizes. Whatever is coming, it's bigger than lights in the sky. It's bigger than classified projects and government secrets. As she drives towards the observatory, the radio in her car suddenly turns on by itself, broadcasting in multiple languages. Prepare for the great revelation. The divine message approaches. Open your hearts to the truth from above. She quickly turns it off, her scientific mind racing to explain what's happening. But deep down she knows. This is about more than just science. This is about control, about manipulation on a massive scale. And someone or something is pulling the strings. The Murray Observatory looms ahead, its abandoned dome silhouetted against the unnaturally purple sky. Andrea kills her headlights as she approaches, noticing two other vehicles hidden among the trees, a weathered pickup truck and a dark sedan. Before she can reach for a door handle, a figure emerges from the shadows. It's an older man in a worn military jacket, his silver hair catching the strange light from above. "Dr. Reynolds," he says quietly, "I'm Thomas Blackwood. The phone call earlier? We need to move quickly. They're tracking electronic signatures." Two more figures approach, a woman in her 40s wearing a NASA badge, and a younger man carrying what looks like specialized monitoring equipment. "Dr. Diana Cooper, JPL," the woman introduces herself, "and this is Kevin Zhang, former NSA cryptographer. We've been tracking the patterns since they first appeared." Inside the observatory's musty interior, their flashlights reveal walls covered in printouts, star charts, and complex mathematical equations. Kevin sets up his equipment while Diana spreads out a series of satellite images. "Look at these," Diana points to a series of locations marked on a global map. Every major religious site on Earth has experienced identical electromagnetic anomalies over the past month. The Vatican, Mecca, Jerusalem, the Ganges, all showing the same geometric light patterns. "But that's not all," Kevin adds, his equipment humming to life. "The frequencies being broadcast, they're designed to resonate with human brainwaves, specifically the frequencies associated with religious experiences and deep suggestion." Thomas steps forward, his face grave. Project Luminescence was just the beginning. We were developing technology to influence mass consciousness, but something went wrong. The phenomena we created, they started appearing on their own, or at least we thought they did. A loud mechanical whir cuts through the air. Through the observatory's dome, they watch as all the lights in the nearby city suddenly go dark. In the silence that follows, the humming grows stronger. "They're here," Thomas whispers. The monitoring equipment screams to life, readings going off the scale. Through the dome's opening, they watch as three perfectly triangular formations of light descend from the clouds. But these are different from the others. Larger, more intricate in their movements. Kevin's equipment picks up a transmission. "Initiate Phase 1 of Ascension Protocol." Suddenly, every phone in the observatory lights up simultaneously, displaying the same message. "This is an emergency alert. Remain in your homes. Do not attempt to document or communicate about atmospheric phenomena. Compliance is mandatory." "They're moving faster than we predicted," Thomas says urgently. "The mass psychological preparation was supposed to take months, but they're accelerating everything. Something's forced their hand." Andrea connects her laptop, sharing the Kepler data. "These patterns," she points, "they're not just geometric formations. They're a language. Look at the intervals between appearances." Before she can finish, the observatory's metal door groans. Footsteps echo from the stairwell below, many sets, moving in perfect synchronization. "Back door," Thomas hisses, grabbing the drives. "We have a secure location. Dr. Reynolds, you need to come with us. You're the only one who's mapped the complete pattern sequence." As they slip out into the night, Andrea glances back. Figures in dark suits emerge from the observatory, their movements oddly rigid. Above them, the lights in the sky pulse in rhythm with the now deafening hum. They pile into Thomas's truck, Kevin's equipment still running. As they drive, the radio crackles to life again. The time of preparation is over. The great revelation approaches. All will be transformed. In the rearview mirror, Andrea watches as a massive holographic projection appears in the sky above the city, a sight that will soon be mirrored above every major population centre on Earth. The infiltration is complete. Now, the real show is about to begin. Thomas drives through back roads, avoiding main highways and populated areas. The truck's radio picks up fragments of emergency broadcasts, each more disturbing than the last. Reports of mass gatherings at religious sites, mysterious power outages, and divine appearances flood the airwaves. They arrive at what appears to be an abandoned subway station on the outskirts of town. Diana punches a complex code into a rusted service door, revealing a high-tech facility hidden beneath the decaying exterior. "Welcome to the Resistance," she says, leading them inside. The underground bunker buzzes with activity. Walls of monitors display real-time data from around the globe. Scientists and former military personnel huddle around workstations, analysing patterns and intercepting communications. "We've been preparing for this," Kevin explains, connecting his equipment. "There are stations like this around the world. We're the only network tracking what's really happening." A woman with greying hair approaches, her badge identifying her as Dr. Eleanor Wright, Quantum Physics Division. "The phenomena are expanding exponentially," she says, pulling up a holographic display. "We're seeing coordinated events across every continent. But look at this." The display shows two versions of the same scene, an apparent religious apparition appearing over Rio de Janeiro. One image, taken with standard cameras, shows a beautiful ethereal figure descending from the clouds. The other, captured with their specialized equipment, reveals a complex array of electromagnetic projections. "It's the largest psychological operation in human history," Thomas explains. "Use advanced technology to simulate divine intervention, create mass hysteria, then step in with a solution that will give them unprecedented control." A young technician rushes over. "Dr. Wright, we've intercepted military communications about Phase 2 of Ascension Protocol. They're talking about something called the Harvest." Andrea begins cross-referencing her atmospheric data with the facility's records. "These patterns," she points to her screen, "they're not just for show. They're altering the Earth's electromagnetic field." "But why?" Before anyone can respond, all the monitors flicker simultaneously. A face appears, impossibly perfect, almost artificial in its symmetry. "Children of Earth," it speaks in a voice that seems to bypass their ears and resonate directly in their minds. "The time of ascension draws near. Your governments have prepared you for this moment. Embrace the coming transformation." Dr. Wright quickly cuts the power. In the momentary darkness, Andrea notices something strange. Tiny lines of light moving beneath her skin, following her veins. "It's starting," Thomas says grimly. "The frequencies they're broadcasting, they're not just affecting our perceptions, they're affecting our biology." The backup generators kick in as Diana returns with a series of classified documents. "These were smuggled out of a military contractor's facility," she explains. "They've been preparing for this since the 1940s. The lights, the miracles, the mass hallucinations, it's all leading to something bigger." Kevin's equipment suddenly detects a new signal, stronger than anything they've seen before. Through the bunker's periscope system, they watch as the sky itself seems to tear open, revealing what looks like another dimension. But in the reflection of the bunker's reinforced windows, they see the truth, an array of satellites working in concert to project an image visible to half the planet. "We're running out of time," Thomas announces. "Dr. Reynolds, those patterns you discovered, they might be our only chance to expose what's really happening. But first, you need to understand what Project Luminescence really was." Thomas leads Andrea to a secure room deep within the facility, where a strange device hums in the center, a twisted mass of copper and crystalline structures that seems to bend light around it. This is what they were trying to duplicate, he explains. We found it in 1947. Not in Roswell, that was the cover story. This was discovered in Antarctica, buried in ice that was millions of years old. The device pulses with an inner light that matches the frequency of the phenomena in the sky. Project Luminescence wasn't about creating the technology, he continues. It was about learning to control what was already here. The beings who made this, they weren't aliens or angels. They were us, from a different time, a different iteration. Suddenly, every phone and computer in the facility activates simultaneously, even the disconnected ones. The messages flow across their screens. The convergence begins, all will be united. Resistance is evolution denied. Above ground, chaos erupts. The holographic tear in the sky grows larger, now visible across multiple continents. Religious leaders worldwide begin announcing the fulfillment of prophecies. Governments implement emergency protocols that have been in place for decades. Dr. Wright rushes in. They're starting phase 2. Look at these readings. The monitors show massive energy surges at key points around the planet. Ancient sites, modern cities, and seemingly random locations forming a complex geometric grid. It's a lattice, Andrea realizes, her scientific mind racing. They're not just projecting images, they're creating a frequency fence around the entire planet. Kevin's decryption program breaks through another layer of classified communications. Attention, all ascension protocol, personnel. Initiate mass synchronization. Preparation for harvest begins. Through the periscope, they watch as people in the streets begin moving in eerie synchronization, their eyes reflecting the strange lights above. The hum grows stronger, and Andrea feels a pulling sensation in her mind, a compulsion to join the masses above. The frequency, Diana shouts over the growing noise. It's affecting neural patterns, mass consciousness manipulation on a global scale. Thomas grabs the strange device. This is what they want, what they've always wanted. Control, not through force, but through the reshaping of reality itself. The facility's sensors flash red as multiple vehicles approach above. Heavy footsteps echo through the tunnels. We need to move, Thomas says urgently. There's another facility in the mountains, one they don't know about, with enough equipment to broadcast the truth. As they gather their essential data and equipment, Andrea makes a shocking discovery in the Project Luminescence files. Photographs from 1987 showing the exact same phenomena, the same divine appearances, the same mass behavior modification. But something had stopped it then. Through the chaos of evacuation, she downloads everything she can onto secure drives. The truth is hiding in these patterns, in the frequencies being broadcast. If they can decode them in time. The facility's main door buckles under some immense pressure. Through the gap, they glimpse figures that seem to flicker between human and something else entirely. Run, Thomas shouts, activating some kind of defense system. Get to the secondary exit. Find Dr. Reeves at Mount Weather Observatory. She knows what really happened in 87. As they flee through emergency tunnels, the sky above turns from purple to a deep, pulsing red. The great tear in reality grows larger, and through their specialized equipment, they see what the rest of humanity cannot. A vast array of machinery behind the celestial display, decades in the making, all leading to this moment. The harvest is beginning. The emergency tunnels lead them to an abandoned train maintenance depot 10 miles outside the city. As they emerge, the sky pulses with an otherworldly light display that would be beautiful if they didn't know its true purpose. Diana's handheld detector shows massive spikes in electromagnetic activity. Look, Kevin points to the distant city skyline. Thousands of people stand motionless. their faces turned upward toward the massive tear in the sky. The air itself seems to vibrate with an almost musical frequency. "They're being prepared," Diana explains, checking her equipment. "The frequencies are altering their brain chemistry, making them susceptible to something." Andrea pulls out her laptop, cross-referencing the current readings with the 1987 data. "These energy signatures, they're identical to what happened before. But look at this." She points to an anomaly in the pattern. There's a rhythm to it, like a countdown. A military helicopter passes overhead, broadcasting a message. "Remain calm and await further instructions. The ascension process requires your compliance. Resistance will result in denial of transformation." They make their way to Diana's backup vehicle, hidden beneath camouflage netting. As they drive toward the mountains, they pass crowds of people, walking in perfect unison toward massive gathering points. Their movements are mechanical, synchronized, their eyes reflecting the pulsing lights above. "Mount Weather is 6 hours away," Diana says, carefully navigating back roads. "If Dr. Reeves is still alive, she's our best hope of understanding what we're dealing with." Kevin's monitoring equipment picks up fragments of encrypted communications. Phase 2, neural synchronization at 47%, geometric lattice stabilizing, prepare for consciousness harvest. Andrea's phone lights up with a text from an unknown number. "The device you found isn't the original. It's a key. Find me." "Look," Kevin points ahead. A massive installation has appeared, on a hillside that Andrea knows was empty yesterday. Enormous towers pulse with energy, projecting something into the sky that tears through the holographic displays like static through a television signal. Diana takes a sharp turn onto a Forest Service road. Those are quantum resonance towers. They're amplifying the effect of whatever's causing this. Every major city has them now, but they've been cloaked until today. The car's electronics suddenly fail, forcing them to continue on foot. As they hike through the dense forest, Andrea notices strange patterns forming in the vegetation, geometric shapes that mirror the formations in the sky. They reach a clearing and stop dead in their tracks. Before them stands what appears to be a door of light, suspended in midair. Through it they can see themselves, but different. Multiple versions, infinite variations. "Now you understand," a voice says behind them. They turn to find an elderly woman emerging from the trees. "I'm Dr. Reeves, and that," she points to the door of light, "is what they're really after. Access to all possible timelines, all possible versions of humanity." The sky above fractures into 1,000 points of light, each showing a different version of Earth, a different outcome, a different history. "The harvest isn't about taking people," Dr. Reeves continues. "It's about choosing which version of reality survives." Dr. Reeves leads them to a bunker hidden beneath a seemingly ordinary cabin. Unlike the high-tech facility they left behind, this one is filled with older equipment. Analog devices immune to the digital manipulation happening above. "In 1987, we thought we stopped them," Dr. Reeves explains, pulling out boxes of old files. "But we only delayed the inevitable. They've been planning this for thousands of years, across multiple timelines." The bunker's ancient radar equipment shows massive objects moving through the upper atmosphere, invisible to modern detection systems. "Every piece of digital technology created in the last 30 years was designed to make this possible," she continues. "The internet, smartphones, satellite networks, all of it building toward mass consciousness manipulation." Andrea spreads out her data, combining it with Dr. Reeves's historical records. The patterns aren't just signals, she realizes. They're coordinates, points where different timelines intersect. A deep rumble shakes the bunker. Above ground, the sky has turned a deep crimson. Through the observation periscope, they watch as huge geometric structures begin to materialize above major cities. They're not building these now, Diana says, studying the structures through specialized lenses. They've always been there, we just couldn't see them. Kevin's old radio crackles with emergency broadcasts. Multiple reports of mass disappearances. Government officials urging calm. Religious leaders announcing the beginning of... Dr. Reeves pulls out a device that looks like a cross between a record player and a quantum computer. This is how we stopped them last time. It broadcasts a counter-frequency that disrupts their control signal. But they've adapted. We need something stronger. Andrea stares at the ancient device from Antarctica they brought with them. What if we're thinking about this wrong? What if it's not a weapon or a tool? What if it's a warning? She connects her laptop to the crystalline structure. The patterns she's been studying align perfectly with its internal geometry. These aren't instructions for control, she says excitedly. They're instructions for breaking it. Suddenly, Dr. Reeves's equipment detects multiple vehicles approaching. Through the periscope, they see black SUVs and helicopters converging on their location. They found us, Diana warns. No, Dr. Reeves says calmly. They've always known where we are. They're here because we figured it out. The bunker's heavy door begins to vibrate as an impossible pressure builds outside. Through the gaps, light seeps in, not the red glow from above, but a piercing white radiance that makes their eyes water. Quick, Dr. Reeves hands Andrea a small device. This contains frequencies from every timeline where humanity successfully resisted, but it needs the right sequence, the one you've discovered. The door buckles as Andrea races to decode the pattern. Outside, voices speak in perfect unison. Surrender, the convergence key. Resistance threatens universal stability. The bunker door finally gives way with a deafening crash. But instead of soldiers or government agents, they face something far more unsettling. Perfect copies of themselves, each slightly different, moving with unnatural synchronization. Timeline duplicates, Dr. Reeves explains, backing away. They're pulling in versions of us that succeeded in implementing the harvest from other realities. Andrea's fingers fly across her laptop, trying to decode the final sequence while Kevin and Diana hold the reinforced inner door. The ancient artifact pulses in rhythm with her calculations, casting strange shadows that move against the light. Through the periscope, the sky has become a fractured mirror of infinite possibilities. Some fragments show a pristine Earth, others a wasteland. In some, massive structures dwarf the cities below. In others, humanity has evolved into something unrecognizable. It was never about alien invasion or divine intervention, Dr. Reeves shouts over the growing chaos. It's about choosing which version of humanity survives. They're collapsing all possible timelines into one, the one they can control. The duplicate versions of themselves speak in unison. The convergence cannot be stopped. Surrender the key and join the unified timeline. Andrea's program finally cracks the code. The pattern reveals itself on her screen. Not a sequence of numbers or frequencies, but a complex geometric structure that seems to exist in more dimensions than possible. It's a quantum lock, she realizes. The ancients who left this artifact, they weren't trying to help them harvest humanity. They were trying to warn us. The pattern is a key to separate the timelines they've tangled together. The ground shakes violently as massive geometric structures descend from the fractured sky. Across the globe, billions of people stand frozen, their consciousness linked in a vast network as the harvest begins. Dr. Reeves rushes to her old equipment. We have to broadcast the counter-frequency now, before they complete the timeline collapse. But as they work to connect Andrea's laptop to the broadcasting equipment, the duplicate selves begin to flicker and shift, revealing something beneath their human appearance. Forms of pure geometric light, ancient beyond comprehension. You cannot stop what has already happened in infinite variations, they speak. their voices resonating at frequencies that make reality itself vibrate. The harvest is eternal. It has always been happening. It will always happen. Kevin's monitoring equipment suddenly screams with activity. The quantum resonance towers around the world are all activating simultaneously. The geometric structures in the sky begin to rotate, creating patterns that match the ancient artifact's internal structure. "They're not just collecting consciousness," Diana shouts, reading the energy signatures. "They're rewriting the fundamental laws of our reality." Through gaps in the bunker's walls, they see people rising into the air, their bodies dissolving into patterns of light that flow toward the massive structures above. The very fabric of space-time seems to be unraveling around them. Andrea makes the final connection, linking the ancient artifact to Dr. Reeves's broadcasting equipment. The crystalline structure begins to vibrate at impossible frequencies. "Everyone hold on to something," Dr. Reeves warns, "when these timelines snap apart." Before she can finish, Andrea activates the sequence. The artifact erupts with blinding light as reality itself seems to scream. The light from the artifact pulses outward in waves of impossible geometry, cutting through the membrane between timelines. Their duplicate selves dissolve into patterns of light, their unified voice rising to a frequency that shatters every piece of glass in the bunker. "It's working!" Diana shouts over the chaos, watching her instruments. "The timelines are starting to separate." But something is wrong. The quantum resonance towers aren't shutting down. They're adapting, changing frequency to match the artifact's output. The geometric structures in the sky begin to rotate faster, their movement creating a vortex that threatens to tear reality apart. "They knew," Dr. Reeves realizes, her face pale. "They knew we'd try this. The towers, they're using our counter-frequency to accelerate the harvest." Through the broken bunker door, they watch as more people rise into the air, their bodies transforming into pure energy. But now they can see what's really happening. Their consciousness isn't being collected, it's being redistributed. Each person's awareness is being split across multiple timelines, creating a unified consciousness that spans all possible realities. Andrea's laptop shows the pattern changing, evolving into something new. "The artifact," she gasps. "It's not just a key, it's a map. Look." The crystalline structure projects a holographic display of nested realities, each one contained within another, like an infinite Russian doll. At the center of it all is their Earth, their timeline, the linchpin holding everything together. "If they complete the harvest here," Kevin says, reading the data, "it creates a cascade effect across all timelines. Game over, not just for us, but for every version of humanity that ever existed or ever will exist." The ground shakes with increasing violence as reality begins to tear itself apart. Through the fractures in the sky, they glimpse other versions of Earth being consumed by the same process, an infinite loop of harvest and convergence. Dr. Reeves rushes to her old equipment. "There's one thing we haven't tried," she says, pulling out what looks like an ancient stone tablet covered in geometric patterns. "In 1987, we found this with the artifact. We thought it was a manual, but look at it through the quantum lens." Diana holds up her specialized equipment, and through its display, the tablet's patterns move and shift, showing a process they hadn't considered. Instead of fighting the convergence, directing it. "We can't stop the harvest," Andrea realizes, "but we can change its destination." She quickly connects the tablet to their broadcasting equipment. The ancient artifact begins to resonate at a new frequency, one that makes their very atoms vibrate in sympathy. "Everyone focus," Dr. Reeves commands. "The tablet isn't just a set of instructions. It's a consciousness anchor. We have to choose which timeline becomes the prime reality." The vortex above grows stronger, pulling more and more people into its swirling geometric patterns. The quantum resonance towers reach a fever pitch of activity as the final countdown to complete convergence begins. They have mere minutes to make an impossible choice. Which version of humanity will survive? The room fills with swirling patterns of light as multiple timelines bleed through into their reality. Through each tear, they glimpse different versions of Earth. Some utopian, others nightmarish, all now connected by the vast geometric networks hovering above. "We don't choose," Andrea says suddenly, her eyes wide with realization. That's what they never understood. The artifact, the tablet, they're not tools of control, they're tools of liberation. She rapidly types new code into her laptop, combining the tablet's patterns with her decoded sequences. The ancient artifact begins to pulse with a new kind of energy, not fighting the convergence, but transforming it. Every timeline they're trying to collapse, she explains, each one represents a choice humanity made. They want to eliminate choice itself, create one unified reality they can control. But what if we do the opposite? Dr. Reeves understands immediately. Instead of choosing one timeline, we preserve them all. Conscious choice, free will itself. That's what the ancients were protecting. The quantum resonance towers reach their peak frequency as the final countdown approaches zero. The geometric structures in the sky begin their final rotation, ready to collapse all of reality into a single, controlled timeline. Andrea activates her program. The artifact erupts with blinding light, but this time it's different. Instead of fighting the convergence, it rides it, spreading through the network like a virus of consciousness. The tablet's patterns flow into the stream of data, carrying a simple but powerful message: choose. Above them, the harvested consciousness of billions begins to resonate with this new frequency. People frozen in the streets suddenly gasp awake. The geometric patterns in the sky shatter like glass, revealing the infinite array of choices and possibilities they were meant to hide. Through their equipment, they intercept the last desperate transmission from those behind it all. Convergence failing, consciousness, divergence, at critical levels, control matrix destabilizing, Project Bluebeam compromised. The quantum resonance towers overload and collapse. The vast geometric structures in the sky begin to crack, leaking light from 1,000 timelines. But instead of chaos, there's harmony. Each reality, distinct but connected, separate but aware of its infinite siblings. That's why they were so afraid, Dr. Reeves whispers. Not of humanity's weakness, but of our strength. Every choice, every possibility, every timeline, they're all equally real, equally valid. The vortex above transforms into a brilliant display of intersecting realities, each one accessible but none dominant. The harvested consciousness returns, not to single bodies but to multiple possibilities, each person now aware of their infinite potential. Andrea looks at her readings in awe. The patterns weren't a weapon or a tool of control. They were a gift from our own future, showing us how to preserve what makes us human, our ability to choose, to change, to exist in infinite possibility. The sky clears, revealing stars that now shine with new meaning, each one a reminder of the countless choices and possibilities that make up reality. The ancient artifact grows quiet, its purpose fulfilled. In the days that follow, humanity awakens to a new understanding. The government agencies behind Project Bluebeam are exposed. The truth about reality, its infinite nature, its dependence on conscious choice, becomes known. But more importantly, each person retains a connection to their other selves, a constant reminder that every choice matters, that reality itself is shaped by consciousness and free will. The harvest failed not because it was stopped, but because it was transformed from an attempt to control reality into a liberation of infinite potential. And somewhere, in the quantum realm, where all possibilities exist simultaneously, the ancients who left the artifact watch and remember why they chose this path, not to prevent humanity's transformation, but to ensure it happened on humanity's own terms.